Viewers, it's the Super Summit which will be pivotal in India, putting itself in pole position to claim its rightful place in the world. As Prime Minister Modi is set to land in America for his maiden state visit, he has given a clear and an unambiguous message to the world. In an interview to Wall Street Journal, PM has said India deserves a much higher, deeper, wider profile and a role. We see this process as India gaining its rightful position in the world. We do not see India as supplanting any country. World today is more interconnected and interdependent than ever before. I present my country to the world as my country is and myself as I am. I am the first Prime Minister to be born in free India. My thoughts and conduct is inspired by my country's attributes and traditions. Listening to the expectation, not just in the furthering the cooperation between the two nations, but also strengthening ties between the two leaders.
So this is indeed a historic and a path-breaking visit. There are three aspects of this which are very important. One, you will see the personal chemistry reflected in a number of interactions. In fact, this visit will show perhaps the maximum interaction between Prime Minister and President of the United States. Number two, you will see that the next level of the partnership will be visible. Thirdly, if I may add that the global good, and as Prime Minister Modi has often described that this is a partnership for global good, that will also be very clearly visible.
The opposition has lashed out at the historic visit, calling it a publicity stunt.
But Prime Minister's got a good sense of humor because 9 years there's no peace. Attacking minorities, Manipur burning, attacking scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. So Prime Minister's sense of humor is good. There's no peace in India, attacking journalists, attacking anybody opposing the government, but he's talking about peace. He must first bring peace in India, no? 24/7 tension ही है. कभी दीपिका पादुकोण का बिकिनी पर जो टेंशन, सड़ावा डायलॉग लिखने वाला मनोज सड़ावा पिक्चर बनाने के लिए उसका टेंशन. So he must, first Prime Minister must reduce tension in the country. Prime Minister should stop preaching peace when he's not able to practice peace inside the country.
See, ultimately, they are just creating an event and publicizing it. That's what they are doing throughout their career, throughout their government in power. They are creating the event. They created event in Australia. Now they are creating event in even for that matter. Bhagwant Mann is doing the same thing because they are doing the same ideology, same system. They have curtailed the wings of media, which is the fourth pillar of the democracy. Whatever happening, they just wanted to hide it from the general public and from even the media. They don't want to bring the truth to the system.
देखिए, प्रधानमंत्री को विदेश जाने का बड़ा शौक है और पिछले 9 सालों में आधी दुनिया वो घूम चुके हैं. उन्हें इस बात की परवाह नहीं है कि मणिपुर जल रहा है. उन्हें इस बात की परवाह नहीं है कि मणिपुर के राजनीतिज्ञ उनसे वक्त मांगते मांगते थक चुके हैं. लेकिन उन्हें खुशी इस बात की है कि प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन ने उन्हें डिनर पे बुलाया है.
Now you heard the opposition voices. Interestingly, Rahul Gandhi had wrapped up his US trip ahead of Prime Ministers. Now let's remind you how Rahul had proclaimed that India's democracy is failing and contrast that to PM Modi's message that India has arrived in the world. Now you, the viewer, decides what will the world trust, who will the world choose. The BJP has lashed out at Rahul Gandhi for maligning India and playing into the hands of those who want to undermine Bharat.
They sort of generate a certain amount of hatred in society, they polarize society, and they're not inclusive. There is a definite capture of the institutions of the country. There's a definite capture of the press in the country. You know, I don't believe everything I hear. I walked across India, walked from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, and talked directly to millions of Indian people, and they didn't seem very happy to me.
It is felt more strongly
by the Muslim community, okay, because it is done most directly to them. But in fact, it is being done to all minorities. I can guarantee you that the same way you are feeling attacked, I can guarantee you my Sikh brothers are feeling the same thing. I can guarantee you my Christian brothers are feeling the same, sisters are feeling the same thing, right? I can guarantee you the Dalit community is feeling the same thing, tribal community is feeling the same thing. You cannot cut hatred with hatred. It's impossible. Normal tools that we used to use for politics, conversations like this, public meetings, was simply not working anymore. All the instruments that we needed to do politics in India, they were controlled by the BJP and the RSS. You know, people are threatened, cases are put on people, agencies are used on people. So we also are finding that in some way it had become quite difficult to act politically.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में आज जो भारत की साख बनी है, जो आज भारत के ऊपर विश्वास है पूरे विश्व का, उसका एक प्रमाण ये भी है कि वो सभी आर्थिक संबंध भारत के साथ बड़े रूप में बढ़ाना चाहते हैं। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी आज सुबह ही यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के लिए निकले हैं, प्रस्थान किया है उन्होंने, और आप सब जानते हैं कितना अहम ये स्टेट विजिट माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का रहने वाला है। अलग अलग विषयों के ऊपर बहुत सार्थक चर्चा होने की संभावनाएं हैं और मैं समझता हूं कि आज पूरा विश्व भारत की तरफ बहुत उत्साह और अपेक्षा के साथ देख रहा है।
There are certain groups in the United States and rest of the Western world which work continuously against India's interests. Most of them are linked to the Jamaat and the ISI of Pakistan. In the recent trip that Rahul Gandhi undertook to the United States, he met a lot of these people. The question therefore is that why is Rahul Gandhi meeting these groups? The Congress party and some of these foreign forces are aligning to dislodge a democratically elected government in India. Is Rahul Gandhi, is the Congress party now going to rely on foreign agencies to undermine the democratic will of the people of India, is the larger question.
Let's open this up. Colonel Dinny joins us. Tara Kartha, former Director National Security Council. Majid Hyderi, political analyst. Good evening, all of you. Colonel Dinny, let's put things in perspective. Diplomacy, as is politics, is all about perception. The world is looking at us very closely at this visit, and the Prime Minister will be landing in a few hours' time from now. How are you seeing this?
See, as you rightly mentioned, the whole world is looking at it. I don't see this just as an Indo-US, visit happening. Or the Prime Minister of India just going for a state visit to it. The whole world is looking at it, and because of the various reasons, I think the ambassador himself mentioned a couple of things. One of the things he mentioned was the global good. So it is not one of those diplomatic visits. It's actually it's much more than that, is what I perceive. And it's a highly visible visit. It's a highly impactful visit. It's not only for Indo-US relations. It is going to be, like many put, that India-US relation is the relation for the next century. So in that sense, with the growing India, with the growing economic power which India is becoming, this visit, I think, will be looked upon as something which actually changed the complete way India and US always looked at each other, I think. But most importantly, at this time of crisis, when the entire world is going through a crisis, this kind of high impact, high visible visit is something the whole world is looking at. And that is why you can see all these various issues coming up also, so that anybody who wants to get some attention will like to make use of this. Especially, I'm talking of those people who are, working towards against India's interest in US and otherwise, would like to take this opportunity, so that this is an opportunity when the entire everybody is looking at that particular visit. So maximum impact and therefore maximum publicity will be available on a platter. So that is why all these toolkits and such things we are hearing. now coming out.
No, one can understand the toolkit, but what do you make of this commentary from the ranks of opposition leaders? And I want to bring in Tara Kartha. Are you surprised by this kind of commentary, ma'am?
No, unfortunately not. Because there is obviously the fact that Modi's got such a high honor in the US, that he's got a visit to the US Congress, he's going to address it, the only second leader ever to do such a thing. There's obviously going to be some political opposition to this sort of thing. They don't want to see. I mean, that's to be expected. But also, it's not just the address to Congress which is important, as Colonel Dinny said. It is that this is a transformative moment. This is a time when, if everything goes well, and I'm pretty sure it will, is that in the Indo-US ties, and therefore the whole relations in the Indo-Pacific are going to change. The kind of what shall I say, the relative power positions within these countries are going to change. So there is a lot of work more to be done, but this is a very, very significant visit. It's nothing to do really with politics per se. It is to do with where India is going forward and how the US can use India for its own benefit. Ultimately, it's about self-interest. It's self-interest for India, self-interest for the US. So this is, for me, we are lucky that we are witnessing such a moment in history where things are likely to change. So you can expect that a lot of political leaders are going to sort of say things about, Manipur violence and things. That doesn't mean a head of state cancels his journey. These are extremely important. It's important for the development of the whole country, as you've seen, even in G20.
Majid Hyderi, are you not happy that Modi is going on his first state visit to the United States?
Well, Pranesh Saab, frankly speaking, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, our collective pride, and I greet him with the Islamic greetings, Qiyamanullah, which means Allah may bless him on the journey. But the point is that why are we trying to glamorize dur ke dol suhane hote hain? I mean, American government, the US government is desperate to have good relations with India at the moment. But will it benefit India? I mean, has US been a good friend? Well, not in case of Ukraine, not in case of Afghans, not in case of other allies in the Middle East, as Saudi is now improving ties with China. So, I mean, what benefit are we as a nation going to get from this trip? That is my point, because Americans have not been good friends for other countries. So my point is there some saffron lobby trying to cash it for the political motives of the government in the country? Will it benefit?
I am surprised because, Majid Hyderi is someone, and this is only for viewers if they've forgotten, whenever we have anything to do with terrorism, the likes of Majid Hyderi, and there are more in the list, will advocate talks with Pakistan. Colonel Dinny, we've had discussions on this. Mr. Majid Hyderi is saying, what will the talks yield? Let the talks happen. He's more worried about the result.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm
what
surprised
will we
that,
benefit out of that? Americans are desperate. Government of India is not desperate. We are a proud nation at the moment. America needs us. We don't need them at the moment, sir. They are losing their allies.
No, who do we need then? Who do we need, Majid Hyderi? Who do we need?
I believe we need better relations with our neighbors, as Atalji said.
Neighbors, you mean Pakistan? Name the neighbor. Come on. Name the neighbor that pushes terror.
Our neighbor could be even the dragon. Why should we be at loggerheads with the dragon? If dragon feels annoyed because of this, why should we go for this?
So you have no problems with Pakistan and China. Lionize China and call them dragon. They are occupying land. They are illegal occupation of our land through which the CPEC runs through. And Majid Hyderi, you want talks with Pakistan and China. But here you have a problem when the Prime Minister goes to the US. Final comment, Colonel Dinny, then we move out.
Absolutely. See, there's one thing which I think Tara ma'am also mentioned, that all this thing hinges upon national interest. It is in our national interest that we have good relations with US, and it is in US national interest that India and US come together. So therefore, there is no question that we should go first towards the Navy. We are doing that. But in today's era, when India is rising, US requires India, and India also requires US. It's not that one-sided relation. He was mentioning about Ukraine. You can't compare Ukraine with India. India is a power in its own right and might. So therefore, US will give that respect, and that's what you're seeing. So therefore, to say at 2023 India does not require US, I think it's not correct. We should be above board as far as diplomatic relations and all. When it comes, we should keep our politics aside. I think that's what matters at this point.
And diplomacy is much more than what Majid Hyderi thinks it is. I thank all of you for joining us. We're building up to the big ticket event, the Super Summit, the Modi-Biden meeting in the United States. All the action updates on Times Now, your channel viewers.